Yo, what's going on, man? Today is March the 8th, 2023. It's your boy Chris, and this is the Caster with Chris NBA betting show slash podcast presented to you guys always by the Basketball Forever Podcast Network. We got a lot to talk about as always. But as you guys join, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button for me, subscribing to the show as well, especially if you're new. I'm doing these shows every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Trying to get the best numbers, get the best lines. I already see a line that actually just dropped a couple minutes before the show started that I like the over on, that I'm probably going to end up placing before right after the show. So I anticipate the line to move, and we'll talk about it. So real quick, I always do a recap. Yesterday was not the greatest day. Yesterday, I actually had 8 plays yesterday. It seems like every time I go high volume and I like the spots, I like a lot of spots, is when I don't cash the most, which is crazy. But let's talk about the recap really quickly. I didn't give all 8 of these out yesterday on this show, but it was a couple spots that I was already looking at. The Wizards was one of the games that I didn't give out, but just looking at the depleted Detroit roster, took the Wizards in the first quarter. In the first half, Jaden Ivey hit a 3-pointer with the Wizards up by 6 with 3.2 seconds left to kill the first quarter, minus the 3.5. They end up winning the first quarter by 3. And then the Wizards went on to lose the second quarter, and then having to battle back and fight hard to win that game last night. And they do play on the second leg of a back-to-back tonight as a home dog against the Atlanta Hawks, which we'll get into in a tad bit. So lost both of those games for the Wizards. Both of those were losses. Trap game for the Wizards last night. I thought they would take it serious to get that game out the way with, knowing that they had the Hawks on deck tonight, but they didn't. They came out and looked terrible. Then we also had the Knicks first quarter, minus 3.5. Knicks just couldn't make a shot. I'm not sure if it's you ebbs and flows of the NBA. You're supposed to come back down after a big win against the Boston Celtics. You overlook a team like the Charlotte Hornets, but they lost the first quarter. Minus 3.5. They did get a big lead in the second quarter and cover the first half spread minus the 5.5, which was my best bet of the day yesterday. And then they lost the game outright. So the minus 10 didn't cash either. And then the Mavs, they covered the first quarter minus 2.5, had a 14-point lead in the second quarter. They end up tying at halftime. So first half didn't cash, but we did have the Lakers plus the 2. I talked about getting the best number. And Lakers did win that game. Should have added the under. I talked about the under yesterday on the show, but didn't add it. Also talked about Brooklyn yesterday on the show, didn't add it. So, that's the way it goes, man. You bounce back. Don't beat yourself up too much. Just trust your work. Trust your process for everybody else that kind of, had a struggling day yesterday. So let's get into the games for today, man. First game up, we got the Atlanta Hawks in DC tonight, taking on the Washington Wizards. Looks like Atlanta is a 3.5-point road favorite, which is interesting, and I think a little telling, just because the Wizards are traveling back from Detroit. This is a second leg of a back-to-back. Looks like they'll have a full roster tonight. I know Monte Morris didn't play yesterday. Not sure if they were just trying to rest him for today or if he's still dealing with that injury. But in Atlanta's been solid defensively. I'm sorry, Atlanta's been solid offensively post All-Star break. So the way I look at this game is, I look at Atlanta. Atlanta they've been scoring. Like it's not like they're not out here scoring baskets. They have the second highest offensive rating post All-Star break, behind only the Sacramento Kings. But they do rank 25th defensively. You look at this Washington team, and I think that's evident in the last few games. Atlanta, they lose the first game with a back-to-back against the Miami Heat, and we know Miami struggles to score the ball. But then the second leg of the back-to-back, they gave up 130 points as well. So what I'm saying is this, and the total is already moving. It's moving in the direction that I want it to be in, because I had it at 233. It's actually up to 234.5 on the books that it's opened at. Right now, I see it on Caesars, I see it on DraftKings, and I see it on BetOnline. And I will be taking the total to go over in this game. I just talked about Atlanta having the second highest offensive rating post All-Star break, but they also are ranked 25th defensively post All-Star break as well. So they're not getting stops. And if you can't stop that Miami team from scoring the ball, who typically struggles to score the ball, you're not going to be able to score this, stop this Washington Wizards team, in my estimation, either. Washington is ranked 20th defensively post All-Star break as well. So their defense is kind of fluctuated between games. And they're on the second leg of a road home back-to-back, which I mentioned. One thing I looked at was the Wizards, when they have Bill, Porzingis, and Kuzma all in, as home dogs. They are 3-1 to the over in that spot. With those 4 games going over by average of about 4 points. So I see points in this game. I know Washington played down the competition last night, but I think they play up the competition. I will be taking the total in this game to go over to 234. It's 233 on the screen because that's what it opened at and immediately got bet up to 234.5. I do like the over in this game. I'm taking the over 234.5 in this spot. Let's move on. So, and I think the Wizards. I can't trust road favorites that don't play defense. So, should Atlanta win this game because Washington's on the second leg of a back-to-back? Potentially, Washington's coming off back-to-back. Atlanta's coming off back-to-back losses. I've read the post-game interviews, and Quinn Snyder talked about, not really being too, I guess, serious, like not like he's not trying to look too much into the short-term success, more so the long-term success. But you got to win games if you're in the Eastern Conference. So I don't know what to make of those comments. I'm like, hold on. So y'all not trying to win, and of course they're trying to win, but you got to be able to pick up one of those games in Miami, especially when you're more rested. But I can't trust Atlanta's defense, so I wouldn't be laying the 3.5 with them. I think the Wizards could win this game. But the Wizards will have to play, really good offense if they're able to win this game, and they're capable of doing that, especially when Atlanta struggles. They struggle. So I like the total to go over the 233.5, the most, and I probably will. Well, I will be placing that bet 234.5. If it comes back, if it opens on your book at 233.5, definitely take the over if you want to ride with me there. Cleveland and Miami. So Cleveland's coming off the overtime win against the Boston Celtics the other day, the shorthanded Boston Celtics, and the Miami Heat are home dogs yet again, which is not a situation that happens too often. I want to say there's something like I can't remember the exact number, but there's a lot of correlation towards the under in this game. I know that they opened at 212. A lot of people don't like taking totals, this low. But when the book set the total this low, it's typically for a really good reason, man. The total has gone up to 212.5. The Cavs, you look at them on the road as a favorite. Those games typically go under. I think there's something like maybe 7-2 to the under, especially when you're coming off an overtime game. If you add that in as well, and then on the Miami Heat side, they are not constant. They're not frequently home dogs. It's only happened a couple times. The spread is moving in their favor. And I think the Cavs are the right side. Miami seems to be catching some steam at home. This will be their third straight home game. They beat the Atlanta Hawks twice, 2 times in a row. For the Cavs, I think they should have everyone in this game. Donovan Mitchell is a little banged up, but I'm pretty sure he'll continue to play through the injuries that he has. He jammed his finger 2 games over the weekend against the Detroit Pistons, and he still played great in the next game. So if I'm looking at anything in this game, player prop wise, it is probably Donovan Mitchell, because one thing about Cleveland is they really struggle. They can really struggle to score the ball. Outside of Darius Garland, outside of Evan Mobley, this team really can struggle the ball. It's like they have 3 guys that can really score, and nobody else can score at all. I'm not trusting in guys like Isaac Okoro, Lamar Stevens, especially with a total being this low. So I'll probably be looking at Donovan Mitchell to go over his points prop. Also like the total to go under, but I do think with the total being so low that I'd probably wait until it gets bet up to actually take it. And I hope that makes sense. So it's open at 212. You already see money coming in on the over. It's up to 213 on Caesars right now. And books will probably have it, a little bit higher than that throughout the day. So I would look towards the under, but not anything I played officially. Also feel like I don't want to bet on the Cavs, against a really good well, let's say this. I think the Cavs win the game. Do I think that they, cover the spread? Potentially. Miami, this is their third straight home game, so I don't really want to bet against them at home. It does feel like they are kind of figuring it out, but and Miami's already beat Cleveland in Cleveland. So it's a revenge game for the Cleveland Cavaliers in this spot as well. I feel like the Cavs are the right side, but I'm not playing anything in this game. If I'm playing anything, though, it is the total, and I would wait for it to get bet up, and then I would take it to I would take the under. And then the last game I want to talk about just really, really quickly, because we do got some other games that I haven't fully capped yet. The Portland Trail Blazers traveling to Boston to take on the Celtics. And I think Boston will have a full squad today. Boston is 10-point favorites. They have not been covering big numbers like that. Then the Dallas Mavericks and the New Orleans game is a game I wanted to talk about as well. Pretty conflicting trends here. What I found in this game was that, and I don't even think I made a banner for this. Let me make a quick banner for this one. So we got Dallas traveling to New Orleans. Spread is New Orleans +2 as a home dog, and the total in this one looks like it's going to open at 231.5. And I think so conflicting trends here. I think so let's start with this. So the Mavs are 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 coming off a home win. Now they have to go immediately on the road. This is their first road game in quite a while. I think they were coming off five or six straight home games in a row. They were able to beat the Jazz last night, but had to get it done late. Now they're a road favorite on the second leg of a back to back. The Mavs are 2-7-1 against the spread on the second leg of a back to back. So do I want to trust them in this spot to cover the spread? I absolutely don't. They're also 8-2 to the over in that spot, including 1-7 straight up and 2-6 against the spread when the second leg of a back-to-back is actually on the road. Also 7-1 to the over in that spot, with 7 of their opponents actually going over their team total in this spot as well. So it should be New Orleans team total over. The problem with the Pelicans is that they just can't score the ball. They're still without, Jose Alvarado. Of course, without Zion Williamson. They do get Quentin Richardson back for this game. He missed the last 2 games due to personal reasons. You look at this Pelicans team, they are 7-3 to the over as home dogs, but they are just 2-5 straight up and 3-4 against the spread as home dogs without Zion. So a lot of the games aren't necessarily going over. I think they're only 4-3 in that spot. The Pelicans are also were. This is an interesting stat. And just interesting as far as standings go, because we know how much parity there is in the Western Conference with teams kind of juggling for playoff position. So the Pelicans didn't even play last night, and they were in 12th place yesterday, which puts them outside of the play-in game. But since the Thunder won last night, and the Jazz lost last night, they actually jumped to 10th. So for me, that just kind of feels like, I know that everybody's kind of watching the standings. To me, that just kind of feels like you have to be motivated in this spot. And I know nobody wants to back the Pelicans. I actually was on the Kings. Well, I didn't give it out, but I did give it out. Talked about it being a strong lean. I like the Kings in that spot 2 games ago. So you get a more rested home dog against a team that's having to play on the second leg of a back-to-back in the Dallas Mavericks. If the Pelicans have anything, it feels like they'll be able to muster it up here. I would look at the total to go over the 231.5. We know that Dallas has been a really good offensive team. I mean, they scored 120 points last night. They've been going over their team total pretty much every single game since they added Kyrie to the roster. Tim Hardaway Jr., really shooting the three-point ball well. Luka, really hard to defend him. Kyrie, he typically takes over in the second half. And you look at this Pelicans team, I think that they should be able to score just because Dallas is on the second leg of a back-to-back. I look at this total to go over. Over the 231.5 is already being bet up right now. Up to 233 is what it looks like. So those are 2 overs that I like today. I like the Washington Wizards and the Atlanta Hawks to go over the 234. And I also like the Pelicans and the Mavs to go over the 231.5, 232 if you can find it on your books. It looks like it is up to 233 on most books already. And then the last game I want to touch on really, really quickly is the did the banner change? OKC and Phoenix minus the 12.5 for the Phoenix Suns here. And the total is up to 234. So I talked about this one yesterday on the show when I was breaking down the Oklahoma City game against the Golden State Warriors yesterday. So Phoenix team total over is what I talked about yesterday. So total in the game opened at 234, and they're 12.5 point favorites. We don't have team totals up yet, of course. I don't think so anyway. Let's see. We actually do. So it looks like Phoenix team total is 123. OKC team total is 111. So before when I told you guys I was looking at taking, for people who listened to me yesterday on the Crispy Cap and NBA show, when I told you guys I was looking at taking the Phoenix team total to go over, I talked about OKC being on the second leg of a back-to-back, and in those spots this season they have given up. I think their opponents are like something like 6-2 to the over on their team total when OKC is on the second leg of a back-to-back. 123 is a lot of points to score. I also don't like it as much without SGA because it does feel like a game where Phoenix, OKC may struggle to score themselves without Jalen Williams, without SGA. SGA will be out for this game. So do I like it as much? Not as much right now, but we know that this Phoenix team is an offensive juggernaut. I think KD has played in 3 games. I know his first game was against Charlotte. The second game was against Chicago. The third game was against Dallas. So 3 games KD has played against 3 games for KD on the Phoenix Suns, and they are 3-0 to the over on their team total in each game, going over by margin. So it doesn't really scare me, too much, but it does kind of feel like a game that could potentially go under. I'm not sure if OKC scores 111 points tonight. Phoenix has been a really solid defensive team. I know that they struggled to stop Luka and Kyrie on Sunday in that game, but that was kind of to be expected. They hadn't played a really good offense, and OKC isn't the greatest offense. I think more so, Golden State defense is just terrible, which is why they scored so many points last night. Golden State just has not been able to get it done on the defensive end when they're on the road throughout the entire season. So they reverted back to their bad ways on defense last night, and it burnt them. They did end up losing that game, but back to this game, I think OKC could struggle to get to the 111 points that they projected to score today. And if that's the case, Phoenix might not need to score 123 points. Can they? Absolutely. It is their first game back after, a nice little East Coast road trip. I think this is their first game back after like at least 5 games. I'm not 100% sure how many games it was, but I know Phoenix was, on the road for a while playing against the Eastern Conference teams. Teams, sometimes can struggle in their first game back. I know that they did have a day of rest, but teams can struggle in their first game back. So I didn't lock that one in yet officially. I did talk about that yesterday. Didn't lock that one in officially. I got to do a little more digging, man. I want to do a little more diving on that game because, like I said, I'm not going to take Phoenix team total to go over 123.5. I need to check out the pace with SGA out of the game for the Oklahoma City Thunder and see if I think that OKC can score enough points to kind of, make sure that Phoenix needs to score 123 points because this game could be 119 to 103 or 119 to 110, So you don't just automatically want to jump on the team total over. So just wanted to share those things for you guys. So best bet I actually had pending because I didn't have anything, and then right before the right before the show actually started, or as the show is starting, like I said, I talked about that total going over, and that's gonna be my best bet for the show this morning. I'll probably have more for you guys throughout the day, but right now that's my favorite bet. Is the you guys can see it at the bottom. Let me get this off. Best bet for the day: Atlanta, Washington to go over to 234.5. Like I said, I do anticipate that number to come up. Atlanta's defense has been trash post All-Star break. The Washington Wizards typically score a lot of points when they have Bradley Beal, Kuzma, and Porzingis. They could potentially get Monte Morris back today as well, which would help the offense. So I like that game to go over to 234 as the best bet for the morning show. Hit the like button for me and subscribe to the shows if you guys haven't. Also, do me a favor and share the show. Today is what is today? Wednesday. So the show will be available through podcasts on all podcast streaming platforms. If you guys wouldn't mind downloading the podcast or at least checking it out, leaving a 5-star review over there, we'll look to bounce back today. Be very peculiar with our spots, making sure we get the best. We take the best numbers. We have the sharpest look. So best of luck to you guys today. I'll see you guys at 5:30 Eastern time as always for the Crispy Cap and NBA show. And I'm out.